everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, filming today from the great outdoors. Yay! It is like 60 degrees out and sunny, glorious blue skies, loving it, and I just couldn't resist coming out here to film a Friday Reads. And hopefully this will just be a little quick Friday Reads because I don't have too much to report. I've only finished one book since my last check-in, and that was The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. I buddy read this book with Courtney Ferreter, and this is a book off my ancient TBR, so I'm really glad to have picked this one up and finally gotten to this. It has been laying around for a long time. So this is the story of the Ganguly family, who are, the mom and the dad are from India, and they immigrate to the United States when they're first married, and it's their story of their family. But the main character is Gogol, their son, their firstborn son. And Gogol comes by his name in a strange way, and that really influences his life. And so that's the title of this story is The Namesake. So the thing about this book that I will say is Jhumpa Lahiri has a really engaging writing style. Like, she just makes it easy to read her books. The language is really nicely written, and just when you're in the book and you're reading it, it just flows so nicely. It's very easy to read. There's no friction there to reading. But when I would set the book down, I just was not drawn to pick it back up because not much really happens. Like I said, this is a family story. And so you really find out about the parents, their early years of their marriage, what happens, how they adjust to life in the United States, being immigrants, and then their child, Gogol, like how he grows up as the child of immigrants from Bengali parents from India, and that sort of culture, and how he feels disconnected from that, and how he's much more American, but he also kind of feels disconnected from the American culture too. But like nothing really happens. And the way that the story is told, we feel very disconnected from the characters. So there wasn't anything like particularly drawing me to pick the story back up when I put it down. So on the whole, I would say this is just an average book for me. It was just an average book. It's well written, it's nicely told, but it's not particularly like engaging to read in terms of like, if you put it down, you're not going to be drawn to pick it back up. At least I wasn't. And so I can't really, like, it was just average. I don't know. I can't really say anything bad or anything good about it. And I have read this author, some of her short stories. I read Interpretive Maladies and enjoyed that a lot more. So maybe I just like Jhumpa Lahiri's short stories more than I like her novels. Maybe that's it. And so now I want to just talk about some of the stuff that I'm currently reading, one of which is this issue of The Atlantic. This is the January-February issue, 2022 issue of The Atlantic magazine, and the title story is January 6th Was Practice, and the author is Barton Gellman. And so this whole issue is about American democracy and the pressures and dangers that American democracy is currently facing. And this title story is 17 pages long, and it is the longest article in the magazine this time. And that's the story that I want to talk about. That's the article that I want to talk about. I am buddy reading this issue of The Atlantic, as I always do with Britta Bowler. We buddy read these Atlantic magazines together, and it's a great way to discuss things and really get a lot more out of the magazine. But I will say this, that if you are interested in the state of democracy in America today and what the implications are of the January 6th insurrection, I would highly recommend this article by Barton Gellman, January 6th Was Practice. This article scared the crap out of me, I will tell you that, because it gets into a lot of details about the very minutia of electoral policy and procedures that is being changed at the state levels right now as we speak in order to make it easier for something like what happened after the 2020 election to happen again, and for this time for Donald Trump to be successful in stealing an election. So yeah, I was just horrified at some of the things that are happening, and it's things like, some of the people that even though they were Republican or whatever, refused to like bow down to the pressure of the Trump people and change like change the outcome. Like they wouldn't throw out the results of a certified election in their state or whatever. Those people have been replaced, removed, transferred to a different position. That position is no longer in charge of certifying election results. I mean, this is very minutia of how electioneering happens in the United States. And the thing about the United States is, because we're 50 states that make up this country, every state does it differently. Every state runs their elections differently, and that's okay, and it should be okay. And the thing about democracy is it's messy. It's a messy process, and that's like the beauty of the system. But that messiness can also be exploited by bad actors who are trying to consolidate power and make sure that their side never loses. And so, yeah, it was an eye-opening article, and also extremely, extremely scary. And I would highly recommend that you find a copy of it. I know it's available online, if that's the sort of topic that interests you. The other thing that was really interesting to me was Barton Gellman breaks down the January 6th insurrection and talks about who exactly participated in that, and not in terms of individual names, but in categories of people. So they've done a lot of, some folks have done some research into, like, we may have an idea in mind of who those people were that participated in the insurrection, and I would bet that your gut assumption about that would be wrong. And that was one of the things that was really scary, is this is not the people who participated in those activities are not who you might think. They are, for the most part, most of them are gainfully employed in very white-collar positions. Most of them had been educated, college educations or even higher. These are not people, with no jobs who are camped out in their parents' basement. Really scary stuff, but also we need to be aware of it, and we need to pay attention to it. So I would highly recommend that article. Something a little bit more lighthearted and fun. The book I'm reading for Book Naturalists Book Club right now is Spineless, The Science of Jellyfish and the Art of Growing a Backbone by Juli Berwald. This is one of the 2 books that we're reading in the month of March for Book Naturalists, and this is fantastic. This is sort of a combination of memoir and science writing about jellyfish, and I don't know an awful lot about jellyfish, and look at that, actual flying insect. It's amazing. I don't know an awful lot about jellyfish, but don't worry, because Juli Berwald is going to educate me. I'm learning a ton of fascinating stuff about jellyfish and how they evolved and how they reproduce and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'm only about a third of the way into this so far, so it's still a lot more to learn. And there is some mixture of memoir about Juli Berwald being, she got her degree in science, and then gets married and is a mom and is writing science textbooks, and realizing that there's there's got to be more to life than this kind of thing. And so it's also about how do you pursue your passion and still be a parent, still participate in a family life. And I think that's really interesting as well and relevant. And then lastly, I am currently reading Zero Fail, The Rise and Fall of the Secret Service by Carol Leonnig. And this is a nonfiction that I'm reading with Doris at Aldi Books, and Patrice, Bready Reader Extraordinaire, and Karen over at Run Right Reads. And this book is alternately disgusting me and infuriating me. I just cannot believe the mistakes and the absolute clown show that the Secret Service has been at times. This is like, sometimes I am feeling like the Bad News Bears is running the Secret Service. Presidents that have been just absolutely disgusting in their extracurricular activities. Secret Service agents that have been absolutely disgusting in their extracurricular activities, and just the failure of imagination from a law enforcement agency to really understand the threats that the people that they're protecting really face. So yeah, it just ratchets up every chapter. Like, we started out with just like the basic history of when the Secret Service was established in the early days of after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And then as we get up into the more modern area, there's a section on Kennedy and his assassination. There's a section on Reagan and the assassination attempt against him. And now we're kind of going president by president through the modern presidents. You know, we had the Bushes, and now I'm in the section about Obama, the Obama years. And yeah, just infuriating stuff, but also fascinating, just fascinating, the details of different presidencies that you find out in this book. It's just fascinating stuff. So yeah, really, really enjoying my read of that. So that's what I'm currently working on this weekend coming up. Hoping this weather, I know it's not going to stay this nice. It's supposed to rain for the rest of the weekend, but I'm just going to enjoy the rest of this afternoon. I hope it's lovely wherever you are and spring is sprung. I hope you are finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.